In today's lesson, we are going to look at a proportion. What is a proportion and how to write a proportion? So, first, a proportion is a statement indicating that two ratios or rates are equal. Here is an example of a proportion where you have 4/8 as one of the ratios and 1/2 being another ratio. Now 4/8, when you reduce that, it does reduce to 1/2. So they are equal, they are the same. Put an equal sign between them and now they're called a proportion. Let's take a look at another example. 25/100. 25/100 is a ratio. And 25/100 is really a fourth because 25 is like 25 out of 100. It's like 25 cents. 1/4 is like 1/4 of a dollar. So those two are equal. They represent the same amount. Put an equal sign between them and now they're called a proportion. Alright, so let's write some proportion. 9 hits is to 9 at-bats. So here's how we represent, 5 hits is to 9 at-bat. 5 hits is to 9 at-bat. As, the word as is your equal sign, as 20 hits is to 36 at-bats. And that's writing a proportion. Alright? So in general, proportion looks like this. A over B is equal to C over D. And what we can do with proportion is you can actually cross multiply proportion. So we can cross multiply proportion. In other words, I can multiply the number, I can multiply them diagonally, and then the other one as well. Alright. In other words, I can go A times D is equal to A times D. Always multiply up. A times D is equal to B times C. B times C. So you can cross multiply proportion. I could have cross multiplied this proportion. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. So they're equal. See? 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 1 is 100. So you can cross multiply proportion and they're equal. That's one of the biggest things I want you to take away from section 5.3 is the fact that we can cross multiply proportion. Alright, so given 2/3 equals to 4/6, is this a true proportion? What we do to determine whether or not it's a true proportion is we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. So 6 times 2, multiply like that, and then we'll take 3 times 4. So 6 times 2, does that equal to 3 times 4? Always multiply up. 6 times 2, 3 times 4. 6 times 2 is 12. 3 times 4 is also 12. They are equal to each other. So yes, 2/3 equals to 4/6 is a true proportion. If we had a false statement, then we would have answered no. 3.6/6 equals to 5.4/8. Is this a true proportion? Let's go ahead and cross multiply. So 8 times 3.6 is that equal to 6 times 5.4. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 3 is 24. With the remainder of 4 is 28. And you have one decimal place, so it's 28.8. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. With the remainder of 2 is 32. So we can clearly see that this is not a true proportion because they're not equal. So false, because 28.8 does not equal to 32.4. False, not a proportion. So given a proportion, you cross multiply. If they are true, then you say yes, it is a true proportion. If once you cross multiply and it becomes a false statement, then you say that it's not a true proportion or not a proportion. All right. One of the big things about proportion is to find the missing value. The missing value could be an x, it could be an n. In this case, example 4, the missing value is x. So we cross multiply to start the process. So cross multiply 15x equals 2 times 60. 15x equals to 120. Right? Now here is the big step. Once you have cross multiply x times 15, 2 times 60, you're going to get this statement. The next thing to find out what the missing value is, what you do is you divide everything by 15. So here's what we had, right? I'm just recopying what I had. I'm going to go ahead and divide this side by 15 and also divide this side by 15. The 15 will cancel out. I'm left with x, and then I'm going to divide 120 by 15, and if you do long division, 120 divided by 15, I'm going to get 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8, with the remainder of 4 is 12. Subtract, I have a remainder of 0. So this division is 8. So that missing number that we're looking for is 8. Alright, so let's go ahead and find the value of n, the missing number. So n over 3 equals to 0.8 over 1.5. Again, the big idea to find the missing value is to use the cross product, to cross multiply. Alright, so let's multiply diagonally. So I'm going to go 1.5 times n. Right? So 1.5 times n equals to 3 times 0.8. 3 times 0.8. 1.5n equals to 8 times 3 is 24. So it comes out to be 2.4. The next step, and it's always the same pattern, so look for this pattern. The next step is to divide both sides by whatever this number is. And so because this number is 1.5, I'm going to divide both sides by 1.5. So these two will cancel out. I'm left with n. That's what I'm looking for. So n is 2.4 over 1.5. And so remember, to divide, your divisor, your bottom, must be a whole number. Thus, you need to shift the decimal one place to the right. So it becomes 15 and then 24. All right, and then I guess for this problem, we're just going to reduce it to the lowest term. They are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 3. Gives me 8. Divide this by 3. That gives me 5. All right, so n is 8 over 5, which if we turn this into a mixed number, then it becomes 5 goes into 8 one time. You have a remainder of 3, so 3 over 5, so 1 3/5. Feel free to review the lesson again, and so if you watch it another time, I'm sure you will understand it a bit better than the first time.